What is the craziest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time? Now, this is a very hard question to answer because if there's one thing Money in the Bank is known for, it's being unpredictable, chaotic, and sometimes nonsensical.
I don't really understand what's happening right now.
But for me, there's one particular cash-in that takes the cake, and that happened at Money in the Bank 2016, where all three members of The Shield held the WWE title. What makes this one interesting to me is that all three of them had unique stories heading into the pay-per-view. Roman Reigns was still the most hated wrestler in the WWE, Dean Ambrose just came off a lengthy feud with Chris Jericho, and Seth Rollins had just come back from a crazy leg injury. Let's take a closer look at him first. 2016 was a wild year for Seth Rollins. He entered the year having completed a lengthy feud against Dean Ambrose over the Shield breakup, and Rollins capturing the Money in the Bank briefcase. This feud seemingly propelled Rollins to main event status, with him being in a legendary triple threat match against Lesnar and Cena to kick off the year. This to me is one of the best matches ever. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. In spring of that year, Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase at WrestleMania, completing what is now known as the heist of the century. Definitely one of the greatest Money in the Bank cash-ins of all time.
The week of WrestleMania, I kind of got some inklings that it was on the table. Didn't know if it was going to happen or not. Obviously, you know, with Brock Lesnar involved, it's a really tricky situation. I didn't find out until maybe halfway to 3/4 of the way through that show. Once my music hit, it was all a blur. I remember almost nothing except for thanking Roman when I covered him.
Not only did he win the world title, he'd go on to hold the belt for 7 months while being the head of the Authority faction. Unfortunately, an untimely injury happened at a house show that put him on the shelf for several months, missing the show of the year, WrestleMania.
The doc says, you tore your ACL, you tore your MCL, and you tore your meniscus. So I hated being there, not being able to be a part. It was very frustrating.
It looked like the plan was for him to hold the WWE title until WrestleMania 32, defending in the main event against Roman Reigns. But I don't know, man. So many people were injured during this time. Like John Cena wasn't there, Randy Orton wasn't there. Like, yo, it was the Vince McMahon era. Like, that might have been the main event. It might have been John Cena versus Randy Orton part 10, for all we know. It could have also been a Shield triple threat, man. Like, the butterfly effect of this injury needs to be studied, because if this doesn't happen, then there's no way we get Triple H winning the World Heavyweight title. Roman Reigns probably doesn't win the WWE title as early, so he might not have been as hated by the fans as much.
You're lying!
Rollins, after a brutal rehab, came back earlier than expected at Extreme Rules and challenged Roman Reigns for the world title and Money in the Bank. Speaking of Roman, let's take a deeper look at him next. 2016 might have been the prime year for Roman Reigns' hate. He was getting booed out of every arena he entered. The reason why he was so hated is because the fans felt like the WWE was shoving him down their throat. Like, he just kept on winning and winning and winning and winning. Looking back at it, I think all of this would have worked so much better if Roman Reigns was presented as a heel instead of as a babyface. He just feels more natural in that role, man. Like, and the fans are already booing him relentlessly anyways. Like, I don't understand why the WWE decided to fight the fans on this one. Especially because they ended up losing for like 5 years, bro. Like, you ended up driving fans away doing it this way. Roman Reigns beat Triple H in the main event of WrestleMania 32 to become a 2-time WWE champion in one of the worst WrestleMania main events. However, despite how he won the title, he'd go on to have 2 excellent defenses against AJ Styles at Payback and then later Extreme Rules. Both of these matches were incredible, and it might be the best work for both of their careers. That might be a hot take. It also had the added benefit of placing AJ Styles as a main event player. People were very concerned on how AJ Styles would be booked in the WWE, considering he was a TNA guy, and the WWE didn't instill a lot of confidence with him losing his first ever feud against Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. Speaking of Jericho, while Roman Reigns was main eventing both Payback and Extreme Rules, Dean Ambrose was fighting Chris Jericho. Going backwards in time a little bit, at WrestleMania 32, Dean fought Brock Lesnar in a much anticipated street fight. Like, they built this thing perfectly, man. There was so much hype going into the match, but ultimately it just fell completely flat, man. This might be one of the most disappointing WrestleMania matches of all time. The build did not match the end result that we got. Ambrose had this to say about the whole thing.
I felt like I was pulling teeth. to turn that match into something
Was
epic and so forth.
You're an MMA fan just like I am. Was it a disconnect in styles?
I mean,
Artistically? I mean, in the ring?
yeah, artistically, Brock didn't want to do anything. Put so much effort in, so much work in, and other people did too. And you know, and I was met with laziness. Cool. It's an invigorating feeling walking in the ring, knowing that like you're going out there with a man who can kill you with his bare hands in front of 100,000 people, and you have no idea what's going to happen. It's pretty cool, you know. So like I live for moments like that. So it was a hell of a day, I'll tell you.
Seeing what Moxley is doing in AEW now, I can only imagine what his ideas for this match were, but Lesnar rejecting all of them is insane. But at the same time, you can't really blame Brock because he had a UFC match coming up, so yeah, I don't know what you do in that scenario. Maybe it would have been better off if they just did a regular match, or if they just didn't have Brock on the card. I'm not really sure what the best idea would have been. Ambrose, following his defeats to Brock Lesnar, entered a feud with Chris Jericho that largely revolved around a plant.
So I put it in there, and the idea would be I'd have this potted plant every time I did a highlight reel, and then I would eventually smash it, which I did, and I smashed him over the head with it, and he went down, and he was off of SmackDown the next week in a major injury, and all anybody could think of was the fact that Mitch the potted plant had been killed.
This feud came to a head at Extreme Rules, where Dean used thumbtacks to put Chris Jericho away for good.
I really wanted to get some thumbtacks in the match. And I was like, you're never going to get any thumbtacks in the match. He's like, no, I really want to try. I'm like, listen, dude, you want to get thumbtacks in the match? That's fine. You want to take a bump in thumbtacks? You go right ahead, buddy. I guess he had tried to get tacks in the WrestleMania match he had against Brock Lesnar, but Brock didn't want to do it, so he still kept pushing, and finally he agrees to get the tacks. I'm like, this is great. Good for you. Awesome. We got the finish for our match. And then, of course, Vince calls me and tells me that he's changed his mind. If I'm losing the match, that means I have to take the bump in the thumbtacks. Oh, fuck.
I think this was the last time we saw thumbtacks being used in WWE, which I'm thankful for, personally. Following beating Jericho, Dean inserted himself into the Money in the Bank ladder match. Ambrose had been sacking a lot of wins heading into this match, but for some reason a lot of people, including me, didn't see him winning, but he did, in an excellent ladder match.
Cesaro! And Cesaro!
All of that brings us to the main event, the much anticipated matchup between a returning Seth Rollins and the heel babyface Roman Reigns. During this match, we had the first ever Spirit to Pedigree counter. Very cool move. For some reason, Seth didn't win with it, but he hit another Pedigree and that sealed it. Seth Rollins wins the WWE title, but shortly after, Ambrose's music hits. Dean bashes him in the head with a briefcase, hits Dirty Deeds, and wins his first ever WWE Championship, making his feud with Seth Rollins full circle. This was crazy, man. It has never happened before in the WWE where all three faction members win the WWE title during the same event. And yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen again, man. So this is a once in a lifetime moment. However, there's some controversy regarding how all of this went down. Roman Reigns violated the WWE wellness policy, which apparently is why he ended up losing the WWE title. I don't know how much truth there is to that. Like, maybe Seth was supposed to win regardless. It's hard to believe that they'd have Seth make this crazy comeback just to lose to Roman Reigns, you know? But like, this is Vince McMahon's WWE, so we don't really know. So that's the story behind what I believe is the craziest Money in the Bank cash-in of all time. Do you agree? What do you think is the craziest cash-in? Let me know down in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, now that the main video is done, it is time for the deep cut. I wanted to have a quick discussion of what happened after this event. The WWE draft came up and Seth Rollins ended up being the first round pick. Dean Ambrose with the WWE title was the second round pick. Roman Reigns went third, I believe. And yeah, it's crazy that they did Dean Ambrose dirty, man. Like, the WWE champion going second is kind of crazy, but the way they did it in storyline of where Stephanie was still in the authority and they had belief that Seth would win, like, I actually really enjoyed that whole storyline, man. 2016 is honestly one of the better years of WWE, man. Because this is when they had the whole rebrand thing with Raw and SmackDown being separate rosters again. Like, it was actually a pretty decent year. We also got the Shield triple threat at Battleground. And it looks like we'll never have this match again. It sucks that it happened at a random pay-per-view, man. But I'm glad it happened regardless. And I know Moxley hated being goofy Dean Ambrose, but I actually kind of enjoyed him in that role. But yeah, man, let me know what you guys think. Do you prefer the old Dean Ambrose or the current John Moxley, man? Curious about that. See you guys in the next video.